Let's go ahead and get started, and more folks may join, just so that we make sure we have time for everybody to share their work. I'm Caleb. I use he, him pronouns. Hopefully, all of you are here for the Trans Survivors Zine Showcase. Um, Very happy to have all of you joining us. Thank you again to folks at Tilde providing Spanish and English interpretation, and the folks at Pro Bono ASL also offering interpretation. I've just spotlit our ASL interpreter, so hopefully that is visible on the screen for all of you. If you're having any trouble seeing the interpreter or having other tech access issues, please send a message in the chat to me or Emil, who's the other person on our Forge team tonight, available to help with tech issues. So thank you very much to our interpreters. I just want to start with a welcome and thank you all for being here tonight. We have a pretty full Zoom room, which is really exciting, and some fantastic speakers that we'll get to hear from. And I feel very lucky to be here with all of you. I know a lot of folks participating tonight are also part of the zine community, have been published in the zine, have read the zine. So we're also really glad to have you here, supporting each other and being a part of this space. We welcome your creativity, your expertise, your curiosity. And right now, the main way to interact is through the reactions that I'm seeing popping up a little bit, and also through the chat. We would love for you to engage as folks are sharing. If you hear something that you like, if you have questions, please feel free to add them in the chat. Let folks know that you appreciate their work. We may have some time at the end as well for more general Q&A and discussion. So you're welcome to share questions for the whole group there. If you have individual questions, you're welcome to add those during each person's presentation as well. We welcome you being here in your body, spirit, and mind, exactly as you are right now. Please participate in the ways that are comfortable. Get a snack, take breaks, stay hydrated, and do the things that you need to take care of yourself. To give you an idea of where we're going tonight, I'm going to give a little background about Forge and about the zine that our very talented speakers are a part of. And we're going to spend most of the time today hearing from the speakers in 8 presentations. One person is joining through a recorded video that I'll be sharing and is not able to be with us live tonight. If we have time, we'll do some Q&A and discussion, and then we'll do some closing. I realize I've not really introduced myself yet. I'm Caleb. I use he, him pronouns. I'm Forge's communications coordinator. And I'm behind the zine, behind the scenes as well. In my personal life, I'm a creative writer, and also get to write for the Trans Survivors blog through Forge. So it feels very special to me to be working very closely with very creative folks who are artists and writers and have a lot to share. And this is my email if you would like to reach me directly about the zine or Forge or anything else. So for folks who may not be familiar, Forge is now a 31-year-old trans-led anti-violence organization. We are national in scope, and a lot of the work that we do is offering training and technical assistance for service providers, particularly folks who work with trans people who've experienced violence of some kind so that they can offer more comprehensive services. A smaller part of the work that we do is direct services with trans survivors. All of our work, we aim to be culturally responsive, empowerment-based, and survivor-centered. And the zine has been a really important way in my mind that we're able to uplift folks directly and share survivor voices in this more public way. So the Trans Survivors Zine, you should be able to see the cover of our most recent issue. This is issue 6. We started last year in 2025 and now have 6 issues out, which is amazing. With our 7th issue getting formatted at the moment, and we'll be releasing that soon. Issue 7 is focused on disability and health. All of the zines cover a wide range of voices. Our hope is to uplift trans survivor voices through a variety of different forms of art and writing. So tonight you'll hear about people who work in visual art. You'll hear some poetry. You'll hear some prose, some other forms of writing, and the zine has an even broader range that we couldn't, include in an hour and a half. So really encourage folks to go read the issues. Um, we received a lot of submissions, especially on our first issue, and that has helped us to shape the themes that these other issues are focused on. Even though they have more specific themes for each issue, there are these overarching ideas of healing, trauma, resilience, community, and hopefully tonight you'll hear some of the different ways that folks incorporate these ideas into their work. So I'm going to stop screen sharing in a moment, and we're going to spend the next hour and a half that we have together hearing from our presenters. I'm going to stop screen sharing. Um, and I'm going to share a little bio for each person, but I hope that each of you will share in a little bit more depth about who you are and the work that you do. Um, Let me get that pulled up really quickly. So our first speaker is going to be Maya Williams. Thank you for being here, Maya. And I will get you spotlit as well. All right. So Maya is a religious, Black, multiracial, non-binary suicide survivor who served as Portland, Maine's 7th poet laureate for a 2021 through 2024 term. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Maya. I will pass it over to you.
Thank you so much, Caleb. Thank you for hosting. Thank you to Forge for this amazing space. Thank you to my fellow zine mates for your beautiful work across the different zines. I'm going to share two poems tonight. One that has not been published in any of the zines, and the other that has been published in the fourth zine. And then I have to go and host another thing. And it's also great working with Forge in this capacity as an artist, because now I'm a full-time artist. But years ago, I used to work for a statewide trans organization as their care program coordinator, working with fellow trans survivors. So it's interesting, this like full circle moment in a way. And with that being said, I'm going to share the first poem. The first poem is an A.B. Siderian. For folks who don't know what that is, it's a poem or essay where each first letter of a sentence, phrase, or word all goes in alphabetical order. So this is an A.B. Siderian for me and my fellow non-binary loved ones. AFAB, AMAB does not exist here. Binaries do not exist here. Cunning, cunty, dashing, daring, everyone can enjoy the fabulousness of gender diversity. He, him, lesbians, and they, she, queers, itchy to stretch out what's possible. Jumpers, overalls, all mixed styles that make me want to kiss you all and love you all. Magical genderqueer spectrums, agender nothingness, open constellations, perfect miracles, quintessential rainbows and absolute synergy, T for T affection, ushered vivaciously every pride, every wonder-filled month. Z, Zir, AM, Day, Dem, you know who you are. Transphobes can zip it. Thank you for listening to that first poem. The second poem was published in Zine 4 in regards to grief, and it's inspired by former poet laureate of the state of Oregon, Anis Mochgani. I hate my headaches. Otherwise, I wouldn't try to get rid of them so often with meds and painkillers. But I do love myself. I am actively trying to love myself better. So I treat my headaches, drink water, maintain a living of trying to make people's days as well as my own. I love tulips because my mother loves tulips. I especially love the pink tulips given to me by a student after a showcase. I especially love the pink roses given to me by my spouse 6.5 years ago on our first date. The color pink deserves more praise than it often receives. I love the gift of receiving praise and giving the people I love and admire praise. I love tweeting praise be to as a semi-daily anaphora for poetry, fudge stripe cookies, the word alive. There are some days I don't love being alive. There are some days I don't hate it either. What I hate are the systems that make being alive so hard for others and myself. It has taken years of training my brain in and out of therapy how to love myself as much as others. I can't stand it when friends of mine quit therapy because they get too sad. Don't they see it is working? Do you know how much of a privilege it is to be sad? I fucking love being sad. Okay, I don't love being sad, but I love the release it gives me when joy or rage isn't available to remove my cap. Whatever fluids of externalizing need to come out, sadness becomes the best accomplice. I am trying to love sadness better. Out of all I tried, out of all I try to love better, I make sure sadness, grief, my father are at the top of my list. I love my father. I hate how his rage has been more responsible for my family's brokenness than he'd like to admit. I love the power of admission. It's healing. It hurts too, but everything has to hurt before it heals. I still hate my headaches, but I love the lesson of healing my headaches teach me. Thank you all so much. Have a great rest of your evening. Have a lovely Q&A.
Thank you so much, Maya. And I've gotten to read these, but it's beautiful to hear them in your voice. And
Oh,
thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you for being here and for all the folks sharing your appreciation in the chat and the reactions. Wonderful. Gonna just change the spotlight here. So we're gonna move to our next speaker, Jayan. Jayan Singh is a Desi queer trans artist based in Toronto, Canada. He works with poetry, photography, textile art, mixed media, collage, and drag. You can find more of his work on Instagram at girls_and film, and I'll add this in the chat as well. Jayan, welcome.
Hello, I'm just going to share my screen. Just 1 second. Okay. All right. Now let's just do this tab. Okay. All right. Can everyone see that? I hope so.
Yeah.
All right. So my name is Jayan, and I was part of the youth zine, and I submitted some of my photography that I took 1 year after top surgery. So I submitted these three pieces. This is fascia, this is Rama, and this is Yawn. I took them all on black and white film, and I wanted to contrast the sort of the idea that gender affirming surgery is more new age and it's a thing that it's a modern invention, and contrast that with the format of black and white film photography. I this was also coming up on when I was allowed to show my scars in the sun, expose my scars to sunlight, because they were healed enough. And that was very a very emotional experience for me, especially because before I got top surgery, I had been binding for a decade or so. So top surgery brought about a lot of um, interesting revelations about my body, in terms of the malformation of my rib cage and sort of the concave divot that had sort of formed in my sternum, things that I was just not, I didn't care about either at the time because I'd been binding since I was 12. And you know, when you're a kid, you wear your binder for 18 hours and everyone says, no, don't do that. And you go, I can do whatever I want. And then you get top surgery and they're like, your ribs are weird. And I'm like, yeah. But I was incredibly fortunate and incredibly privileged to get top surgery, um, and uh, and incredibly privileged to be able to live in this body that I currently do. I named this one fascia because I kind of feel like I still kind of feel like when I take my shirt off, I'm sort of peeling off layers of my skin. Like it kind of feels vulnerable in the way that you're seeing the inside of me on the outside. And I named this one Rama because in my culture, Rama is supposed to be the perfect man and the idea of a perfect man and the sort of blueprint that we should all base ourselves off of. So I thought that was interesting. And then I named this one Yawn because I'm stretching. And yeah, so you can find more of my work on Instagram at Girls on Film, except the O is an underscore. And thanks for having me. I just noticed I got a Q&A from someone who uses a screen reader. So I just wanted to describe my images to you. Sorry, I was open in the other tab. So my image of fascia is me wearing a mesh top, and with my right hand, I'm pulling my shirt up to reveal my scars. And I also have no nipples, which is kind of awesome if I do say so myself. And I'm looking off to the side. And my photo of Rama, I'm completely shirtless and I kind of have my hands in a creation of Adam kind of formation, spread out to the sides and my fingers touching at my chest. I'm also not looking at the screen. And then Yawn is me also shirtless, looking off to the screen with my hands stretched out above my head, kind of in a ballet sort of form, with my fingers touching. Um, yeah.
Thank you for sharing that visual description. And this is a great reminder also about the access piece. So if other folks are sharing visual art, if you'd also be willing to add a brief visual description, that would be very helpful. Thank you for sharing your work with us, Jayan. And I'm looking at the chat and seeing some appreciation for these, appreciation around vulnerability. I wonder if anybody else has comments or questions that they want to share. Feel free to continue adding thoughts and comments. Um, and if folks don't have any questions right now, we will hopefully have some time at the end. So I'm going to shift to our next speaker. So thank you again, Jayan. So our next speaker is Imogen Lynne. Imogen is a Las Vegas-based poet, musician, and content creator. They are the editor and publisher of The Poets of Twitch, a poetry anthology zine that features poets from their Twitch community. Imogen can be found online, always under the name Two Thirds Lotus. Thank you for being here with us.
Hi. Hello. I hope I'm still audible. My name is Imogen, and I use, I guess, lately they, them pronouns. I'm from Las Vegas, and I am primarily a poet, though I do some other artistic things as well. And I teach poetry through workshops locally as well as on my Twitch stream, twitch.tv, a live stream platform normally used for video games, but poetry can and should be everywhere, I think. And that's a lovely place where we have a growing community of people interested in writing, poetry, all of those things. I'll be sharing two poems today that I've written. The first one is a short poem from Trans Survivors Zine 3, which is on growth and healing. And then the second is a more recent poem, which also happened, I only realized just now, to kind of fit into that theme of growth and kind of goes back to me as a young person, pre-queer realizations, perhaps. So the first is titled Genesis. If change came as a redwood, unbound and skyward reaching, would I learn to love my old growth ways? If beginnings felt more like sprouting than fatherly creations, could I settle my mind and push without strain? I will become meager and rising, with every sun constant, that I may loom over moments of wind and rain. Genesis. And that poem, as well as the next one that I will read, I think carry some degree of this, religious connotation. And I think this is, an experience to deal with the struggle of being a queer person in relation to religion and religious communities. And that's something I find enters into my writing quite often. The second piece is called Monsters. It's a larger 4-part poem, very long. It's not even done yet. I think it'll be a few thousand words when it's done, which is quite a lot for a poem. But I'll just be reading the first part, which is titled The Closet. And all of these are kind of about myself in relation to religion and identity and these kinds of things. So here is Monsters, Part 1, The Closet. It will eat me. My back drinks in the blackness. As my face faces the wall, I am smothered, visible somehow, like they say in church. God can see it all. Through the lies, through blanket, probably through the closet door. I see them, lined up before him, waiting for a turn to be eaten. I think of sheeps and wolves. I think of boys, jaws filling up with my innocence and blood, and I need to turn. I need to see, so my eyes back away. I throw off my veil and I am back. I am witness to the door. Behind it, all the monsters bleed in the moving boxes. I know they are there. As real as King David, as real as this hunger who keeps me up at night. I cannot look away. Men, stare into a face and believe, and I want to be men. A man like him, to throw stones, to swing and dance back and forth, untouchable by sword, uneatable, to wield with wit. It is behind the door, but I cannot unknot this darkness. I cannot unknow. No matter how many times I turn, I cannot sleep in this bed alone. So I face back, smothered in the faces on the wall, with this starving closet, with contents who I don't believe are gone and in whom I can't unbelieve. and I am afraid. But he is with me. So I swing and let go. I sever. I open the closet door, and inside I see nothing. And in the nothing, I see my own face, lined up. I back away. I am smothered, laying on my back because there is nowhere to look. When I know and lie and unknow. Monsters, Part 1, The Closet. And that's all of the poetry that I have to offer for this. But if you want to hear more of my poetry or my thoughts on it, there are a number of places where you can find it. I reside mostly on Twitch, and that's kind of my big project that I am mostly working on as an artist. I stream 4 times a week. People send me their poetry. I read it, I analyze it, break it down, talk about it for, sometimes hours with an individual poem on a live stream to, understand and ensure that the poetry that people write has a place to be heard. I've also published a zine with a number of poems from my viewers and continue to share my own work on Instagram, on my Substack. My username in all of those places is 2/3 Lotus, TWOTHIRDS, like the fraction and the flower. And yeah, I'm continuing to work on similar poems, investigating, these ideas of identity, religion, the things that we as a society hold valuable and maybe can reconsider and question and call into question. I think that's all for me. Thank you so much for having me, and really wonderful art from the other presenters, and really glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Imogen. That's just so beautiful and powerful to hear you read. And I was going to ask how folks could get connected with your Twitch and get involved. So that is great to hear. I'm seeing a lot of appreciation as well that I hope you are receiving in the chat. Um, and somebody else sharing that somebody does the New York Times crossword and other puzzles on Twitch. So other ways that people are using that platform. Fantastic. Does anybody have any other questions or comments that you want to add now? I don't see anything quite yet, but feel free to add things in the chat. Thank you again, Imogen. It's really, really wonderful to hear your work.
And thank you.
All right. I'm going to move us to our next speaker, Ray. Ray is a trans artist and art therapist in the Pacific Northwest. He works with LGBTQ plus teens and young adults using art to help them heal from past wounds, discover their authentic self, and develop uninhibited self-love and compassion. When not with clients, Ray can be found playing video games or watching horror films with his cats. Welcome, Ray.
Hello, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. When people hear that I'm an art therapist who works with trans and gender diverse individuals, I think that people might assume that I spend my day teaching people about gender, but I don't. I spend my days witnessing people becoming more fully themselves. As mentioned earlier, I'm also trans. That doesn't mean my experience is the same as the young people that I work with. Our lives are shaped by different generations, different opportunities, different stories. But it does mean that I recognize something familiar when someone discovers language for themselves, or when they're seen without having to explain anything. Long before I was a therapist, I was trying to make some sense of my own life through art. In the early stages of my transition, art became a place where I could hold everything that I didn't yet know how to say. I was trying to understand what it meant to be trans and how that realization would ripple through every aspect of my life. There were emotions that felt too tangled for conversation, so instead I made them. This is one of them. This is a little zine that I made about coming to understand my gender. This is actually very interesting timing too, considering that tomorrow will be my 8-year anniversary, is what I call it. Because I didn't get to come out until my late 20s, I'll never know what it would have been like to truly grow up as myself. I'll never get those ordinary moments back. So I wrote this as a way of grieving and honoring myself, the younger version of me. So I have a little letter that I'm going to read. Dear childhood me, I have never met you, and I never will, but I miss you dearly. Oh, how I wish I could have enjoyed every moment of my youth, growing from a boy into a man. I would have learned how to shave, tie a tie, and all those little things that I'm still trying to figure out on my own. I envy you sometimes. And there are moments when that envy becomes anger or even resentment, but not towards you, but toward the fact that I will never really know you. There's so much that I would want to talk to you about. I hope that I am all you were hoping to become. I hope that I am making you proud. When I finished writing that letter, I realized that I wasn't only mourning, but I was introducing myself to that child. Art has given me a way to have conversation across time. As an art therapist, I see versions of that experience every day. Not because every trans person's story is the same, but because creativity gives people a place to explore themselves without needing to have everything figured out first. People might ask, what helps transgender youth? And the answer is surprisingly simple: being believed, being safe enough to tell the truth, having places where they don't have to perform to someone else's idea of who they should be. Sometimes therapy can be one of those places, and sometimes art can be one of those places. Our collective works here today say, here is my story in my own words, in my own images. These pieces don't need permission to exist. They create connection. They remind someone they've never met that they are not alone. I've learned that healing doesn't only happen because pain is acknowledged. Healing also happens when imagination is shared. Every time a trans person creates something honest, they're making the world a little bigger for the rest of us, leaving breadcrumbs that say, I was here, I survived, and I dreamed anyway. I think back to the young people I work with, and I think of the younger version of myself. I can't go back and give that child the boyhood that he deserved. But maybe that's not the only way we care for our younger selves. Maybe we do it by creating a world where today's trans kids have more language, more community, and more freedom than we did. Maybe we do it by making art telling stories, refusing to disappear. When I wrote that letter, I thought I was writing to someone I would never meet. But being here today in this community and with these other incredible artists, I realized that maybe we do get to meet those younger versions of ourselves, not by changing the past, but by helping shape the future. I want to say thank you to everyone who contributed your stories, your art, and your vulnerability. Thank you for reminding us that healing isn't something that we only receive, but healing is something that we create together. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ray. So many hearts. I love that. And also just feels so relevant to hear how you share your creativity and how you receive it from other people as, creating something together. Happy 8 years. Amazing. Thank you. And I'll give just a moment if anybody has questions or other comments that they want to share directly with Ray. See more hearts. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, healing isn't something we receive, it's something we create together. So many really powerful lines. And I see in the Q&A, where can we find Ray's zine? Ray, do you want to share where we can find that?
Yeah, I was in the very first issue of the zine. I forgot. I think it was just a general theme of resilience and survival, I believe was the theme of issue number 1. But if you want to follow me, my Instagram is cultured kibbles, as in the kind of thing that you feed your dog or cat, and it has culture. I post a piece of artwork every day, so you can follow me there.
And I assume they were asking about your zine that you showed on screen, but Michael has also added the link to the first issue of the Trans Survivors Zine. So thank you.
Oh, my zine. This was just something I made for myself. Actually, this was just meme for me.
Awesome. And I've added the link to your Instagram as well, so hopefully folks can get connected that way. Thank you so much, Ray. And I'll keep an eye out if other questions come in. I will move us over to our next speaker. Change the spotlight really quickly. Our next speaker is Blue Midnight Canis. Blue Midnight Canis is a queer wolf of a trans woman living in Southern Ontario. Under a previous name, she was a 2022 Hugo finalist for her short story Unknown Number. Her writing has previously appeared in Werewolves vs. Everything and Transcendent 4, the year's best transgender speculative fiction. She is currently editing her first full-length speculative fiction novel. Welcome, Blue.
Thank you. I am going to forgo much more introduction because I have 3 poems and want to be respectful of my time. You're only going to see me use my left hand because my right one is petting a 3-month-old kitten just off screen so he doesn't tear around while I'm doing this. This first poem was published in Trans Survivors Zine number 4, which was the relational issue. It's called Skinner Box. This poem and next are both have to deal with relational abuse. The rewards come so easy at first. You press the lever, treats come out, little pellets of love. Press a compliment, press a held hand, press a kiss, press flowers. But over time, it feels like the lever stops working as well. Press, press, press. You are loved. Press. Press, press, press. You are good enough. Press, 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 press. You are safe. And then come the days when I don't press enough, and the floor lights up with electric correction, and I come to learn that no reaction is still a reward. So over press, time press. I learn press, that I press, should never press, rest press, because you never press, no press, when press. The shocks, press, 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 will come. And every press, I'm sorry, now and then, press. I can see you're trying. There's still press. We're a family. A treat. You're safe. Looking back, I am scared not by the box's devious construction, but by the question that if the treats had come just a little more often, would I ever have realized I was trapped? The second poem is called Stray. It was published in a zine called Dog Teeth. My heart was once astray, limping through the empty streets, ribs sticking to malnourished frame, grateful for any scrap she could find. She would roll over and show her belly, hoping that if she were just friendly and cute and obedient and loyal, that someone might whistle for her to follow. She had puppy dog eyes and a heart of gold, and all it took was pockets full of kibble and a voice full of promises. It called for her to heal, and she was happy to fall in line. The collar feels special when it first goes on. It says that you are taken care of, that you have a home and a name, because of course your identity can only come from the fact that you are loved. The thing about homes with invisible fences is that you don't see them at first. They open the door and you only see wide open space, green spreading in all directions, security without restriction. The things about homes with invisible fences is that you only learn the space you're allowed by the lesson of pain. The thing about homes with invisible fences is that you can't know if they move. The thing pain about homes, pain with invisible fences, is that you learn not to push too far, since yards could shrink. Obey in advance. Remember your place. Don't stray. Each step out risks the shock. The thing about homes with invisible fences is that you get used to the pain. The thing about homes with invisible fences is that you just need to push through the pain, pain, pain to be free. My heart is no longer astray. She is a feral beast, a self-sufficient scavenger, a name held in her heart with no engraved tag. My heart goes where she pleases, seeing fences and signs that warn beware of dog, when they should warn of homes that promise forever, but only if you're a good little bitch. This last poem is called A Prayer for Athena. It isn't directly about abuse, but I'm including it today because I know me and so many of my trans feminine siblings who have our genders wielded against us in our abusive relationships, who are told that we deserve what is happening because of our male socialization or because we are the husband of the relationship or various other excuses. Prayer for Athena. The stories say you burst from Zeus's head, a grown woman ready for battle, born in violent bloodshed, tearing herself from the shell of a man. I can't help but wonder, did you too mourn a girlhood you could never have? Did you come out as a warrior knowing, as we all do, that you would have to fight to survive? Did you wait for the day when you could escape that masculine shadow from which you came, only to find his legacy lingered, a stain that can never be washed away? Did other goddesses look at you with suspicion? Were you too loud, too brash, too tall, too fierce? Did they look at you and see his face? Did they shun you for being too close to manhood? Some called you Athena the Virgin. Is it because you hid your lust from them, projecting a guileless feminine innocence, the specter of predator, always over your shoulder? Were there skills you never learned, buried in the darkness in him? Did you scramble to catch up, never feeling like you could make up for the time? Were you scorned, pitied, idolized, reviled? Were you always the goddess of wisdom, or did you have to chisel truths from your soul to become enough to be treated as worthy? Did you know that when they built you a pedestal, a whole city to your name, it would only be a matter of time before they tore you back down? Thank you.
Thank you, Blue. And I'm reading some of the comments here. Yeah, these hurt my heart, heavily relatable, incredible pieces.
Thank you
And
all
I
very much. And thank you, Karime, for and Amber for the translation as well.
and I also love this comment about the landscape of sound you create with the presses is so cool. And that's something I've read this poem many times, but you can't experience it the same way unless you're hearing it. So that's really wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else want to add? I see so moving. Yeah. Any other comments or questions?
Thanks all so much.
Thank you, Blue. Wonderful performance. Also, so much love for the amazing interpretation. Such a good job capturing the performance signing. And we do have a question about how can we connect with you? Is there anything you want to share for folks to get
Oh,
connected?
yes. I am on Blue Sky under Azure Bitch, AzureBitch. Or you can find some of my writing on itch.io under the username Azure Canis, AzureCanis. I'll put them in chat as well.
Perfect. Thank you. Continue adding all of your support in the chat. Awesome. Thank you for sharing your social media. And I will move us on to the next speaker. Thank you again, Blue. So our next speaker recorded a clip for us because I'm sorry, I'm looking at my screen. Noah could not be here tonight. So we're gonna watch a short video. It's a little bit on the quiet side, so I'm gonna turn my volume up, and you may also need to turn your volume up just to make sure that it's audible. Um, Once I share my screen, please let me know if you have any trouble seeing or hearing anything. Me pull that up. Oh, let me share Noah's bio with you first. Noah is a Massachusetts-based multimedia artist who uses painting, collage, photography, and fiber arts to create pieces on grief, survival, love, and community. Z received their bachelor's in art therapy at Lesley University and runs art groups for queer and trans kids. Zir art draws inspiration from the natural world and his experiences as an Afro-Indigenous, chronically ill, and non-binary butch lesbian. I'm going to share our video from Noah.
Hello, my name is Noah Stang-Osborne, and my pronouns are zir or they, he. I am a recent survivor of domestic violence. In addition to being a survivor, I'm a painter, avid reader, cat dad, and nature lover. I also have my bachelor's in art therapy and run art groups for LGBTQ plus kids. Making art has helped me process surviving domestic violence and has also helped me create the life that I wanted that feels good for me. One of the first pieces I made after my abusive relationship ended was mementos of our last night. I had all these images swirling in my head from the end of my abusive relationship. They came down to 2 nights that were both the last night in their own way. These nights came together as one in this painting. Some of the images in the painting are literal. The dislocated ankle and damaged phone screen were done by my ex in a fit of anger. The song playing on the phone, It's Not Love by Lon Talius, was one I listened to frequently during the last few months of our relationship. The new moon on the top was the phase of the moon during one of the last nights. There are also more metaphorical images on this painting. There are scissors for the sharp words they threw at me, a damaged area within the gray clouds for our broken trust. These images had been taking up so much space in my brain, so I spent the month after the breakup putting them on paper. I felt a cathartic release when this piece was done. The things that happened to me didn't have to live in secret in my head. They could come out into the world and be witnessed by those who cared for me. Shortly after the breakup, I started gardening with my community. I found a community garden where we all share the work and all share the harvest. There are 3 raised beds that we work together to take care of, growing lots of veggies, herbs, and some flowers. It feels so grounding to get your hands in the dirt and help support new life. It was also so nice to meet new people, both fellow gardeners and people I share my produce with. I was able to grow most of the veggies I ate last summer, and I'm on track to do the same this year. These experiences inspired the painting, You Can't Take What I've Grown. Dandelions are a symbol for hope and resilience. They can push through concrete, and though they are often dismissed as a weed, they are highly nutritious. Dandelions have antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects, as well as providing digestion support. The dandelion I painted has 4 leaves. In many cultures, the number 4 represents completeness, stability, and support. These are the feelings my community garden helped cultivate in me. The final piece that I'm going to talk about today is called Wrong Container. Elizabeth Baker wrote in her book Big Magic that she believes ideas are a disembodied, energetic life form. They are completely separate from us, but capable of interacting with us. Ideas are driven by a single impulse, to be made manifest, and the only way an idea can be made manifest in our world is through collaboration with a human partner. She describes ideas, all ideas, artistic, scientific, political, etc., as searching for willing human partners. An idea will try to get your attention for a while, and if that doesn't work, it'll move on. If they do get your attention, soon you'll see all sorts of signs pointing you towards this idea until you decide whether to work with the idea or not. This was how the creation for the Wrong Container felt. After my breakup, I kept seeing images of a dramatic still life, a beautiful, broken container leaking a toxic liquid. I saw these images as a larger painting, but that kind of painting required time and a good reference, so I pushed it off. After a while, I was worried the idea would leave if it thought I wasn't committed to bringing it to life, so I started doing some sketches. That bought me some time. Almost a year after the end of the abusive relationship, the idea was still with me, quieter than before, but present. I looked online until I found a reference photo that I felt connected to. The idea and I compromised on material, and I started with my oil pastels. I got lost in the light and shadows of the piece. I saw parts of my flawed former relationship and the caves and wisps of smoke that the shadows in the vase created. The oil pastels stained my fingers and left little impressions of my fingerprints on the painting. When I finished coloring the container itself, I started coloring the liquid leaking out of the container. No reference for this one, just colors and emotions that needed to leave my body. When that was done, I created the contrasting blue water flowing into the container. This represented my good intentions and effort I poured into the relationship, the wrong container. It didn't matter what I put in, the container was broken and contaminating all that went into it. When this art piece was done, I felt a sense of calm. While I couldn't make perfect sense of what had happened to me, It was over, and there was a place for it in the history of my life. I think that's the beauty of art making. It helps make sense of the nonsensical and gives our trauma a place to live without taking over our life. Thank you for listening. If you're curious about seeing more of my art, you can find me on Instagram at art._.by.noah. Thanks.
Thank you for listening. And I'm very grateful that Noah could share this recording with us, even without being here live. So feel free to share any support. I'm seeing a lot of heart reactions, which is wonderful, that I can pass along to Noah. And in just a minute, I'll go find Noah's Instagram. Yeah, I will go grab that once I have moved on to the next person, so I'm not interrupting. And we'll add that in the chat. So I'm going to shift to our next speaker, R. Haven. R. Haven is a fantasy and horror author hailing from Toronto, Canada. His debut novel, The Other Face of Sympathy, is now in limited supply, and he has won a short story award from the Inkwell Literary Festival. His website is theirritablequeer.com, where you can find information on his other published works. Welcome, R. Haven.
Thank you so much. I want to say to begin with that I am in real time pivoting what I wanted to present today, just because of how impactful everyone's art pieces have been. I was originally going to talk about something else, but now I think I want to talk about my more personal experiences with being trans. To start with, I did write a trans protagonist into my book, The Other Face of Sympathy, which for visually impaired audiences, the book is a young man surrounded by bookshelves as these shadowy hands reach toward him. It is a horror book about a transgender protagonist who was unhoused and homeless for most of his teenage years and adulthood. And it's about the connections that he then forms with people through diaries. Um, it's a very psychological horror novel, but I want to pivot from talking about my novels to my poetry. Um, I have two poems that I'd like to share. The first one I wrote in dedication to my grandmother, who I shared a birthday with her. And I also shared for the first part of my life a name with her. I was named after her. And after she passed, I still think about her a lot. I think about her every birthday, of course. But one of the things that she left behind were a bunch of ceramic elephants that she gave to me. So I'd like to read the poem Ceramics on My Shelf. They stagnate, forming a collection of their own, of grit and hair, of motes that sparkle in the light, of flakes of old skin, newly dead, whereas you've been gone for 2 decades. They sit, meticulously arranged on a shelf in my study to watch me work with their glazed eyes. I hoped that you'd like to see me productive. Still, I frequently pause, stretch my weathered fingers, and wonder. You loved me so unconditionally, so vibrantly, so proudly. Would that have changed? When you learned your granddaughter shed the name inherited from you in order to live as your grandson? When I somehow survived all the pills, the ropes, the knives, but ruined my tender insides? When I could only make art, prodding letters into the shape of stories instead of making a living? That's when I decide to pick up a cloth and wipe away the dust from the mementos you left me, to let you see how I'm doing my best. Of that, I know you'd be proud. And the second poem I wrote is based on the fact that I have a daughter. And when I was, you know what, no, let's not mention my age, but when she was 3, we had an interaction just in line at a Starbucks that sent my mind spinning. And I had barely started my physical transition at that time. So I want to read this poem about being in line at a Starbucks, and it's called I'm Her Dad. She's never questioned it, is the thing. Even when they ask, do you want to sit with your mom? When they tell her, listen to your mother, it doesn't seem to process. She tells everybody that she wants to stay with dad, that she loves her dad. Dad took her to the library, to the park, running errands with her dad. And when she plays pretend, I'm the Fred to her Daphne. I'm the Red Power Ranger. When no boys are allowed in the playhouse, I have to wait outside. And sometimes, when we're in line at the Starbucks, the person behind us chats with my daughter and says, I bet you'll be as tall as your dad one day. And we both beam behind our masks. She smiles at the thought of being just like me. I smile because so far she isn't. She's the little girl, unless she realizes otherwise somewhere down the road. And no matter what my body looks like, I'm her dad. So that was the poem that was published in issue 3 of the Trans Survivors Zine. The first one, Ceramics on My Shelf, was published in Last Stanza Poetry, issue number 13. Yes, I had to double check that. So if you're interested in either of those, you can look those up there. They're available through Forge, and the Last Stanza poetry books are available on Amazon. But yeah, I have a lot of other works exploring being transgender. I have a few unpublished novels that are still seeking a home, with my agents working on that. But they have transgender characters who I had to resist writing a whole spin-off novel for because they captured my heart more than any of the others. So hopefully if you're interested in my work, you'll see more of me. And you can follow my socials and everything at my base website, which is behind me, theirritablequeer.com. And again, for visually impaired people, there is a banner with my giant face on it right behind me that also has my website on it, theirritablequeer.com. I will also, actually, while I'm here, plug this. I have a novelette coming out on August 10th. It's called As Thick as Water. It is, the cover has a sort of rainbow effect of a girl sinking underwater, being approached by some kind of monstrous fairy. And it is a book about, in a strange way, my connection to the idea of sisterhood. Um, when I was growing up, feeling lost and confused about presenting as a woman or presenting as a girl, um, I connected with other misfits, and that's kind of what this book is about in a dark fantasy twisted way. So I want to thank Caleb so much for hosting all this. I want to thank the sign language interpreters. They're doing a fantastic job. And yeah, if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you so much, R. And I hope that folks will add questions in the chat. I see some very supportive comments about how sweet these poems were, melting my heart over here. Um, and I'm also very excited to get to hear about your other work, especially as a horror fan. So that's very exciting. Yeah, any other comments that folks want to add? Any questions? Please continue to add your thoughts, your support. It's really wonderful to hear from you. Are also love your banner because that's a super convenient way to let us know where to
Thank
find you.
you. Thank you. It is a gift from my father, so
Oh, amazing.
shout out to him.
Thank you so much for yes, and I see a comment. Gonna check out your book. Sounds right up my alley. Awesome. Thank you for sharing with us tonight. And I'm gonna move us on to our last speaker, and it looks like we will hopefully have a little bit of time at the end for general Q&A. So if you have questions, keep thinking about those, and we'll have a moment then. But I would love to invite Sylvia on. Let me switch my spotlighting really quickly. Welcome,
Hi.
Sylvia. Hi. Sylvia is a 25-year-old something she doesn't really know or care for that matter. She's into a lot though, table tennis, movies, music, poetry, gaming. She has no shortage of personality either. She is the founder of an Eau Claire Poetry Guild for queer adults and is currently working with her best friend Kai to publish a chapbook titled Doing the Cockroach. She is also so excited to be featured in Forge, and we're very excited to have you here tonight.
Hi. I wasn't really sure what the vibe was, so I brought 5 poems, so I'm just gonna get into it. I'm not gonna say anything else. I'm also gonna share my screen. Poetry is also a visual medium. A peach rolled off the wagon, traveling who knows where, jam factory, pie plant, ice hockey arena, and putrefied roadside. It wished for hands. The gardener found him, her, and gripped it in her hands, turning the peach, considered his worth. The peach was just happy to be held. Gardner pressed her palms to his backside, fingers in the fuzz, began to pry him apart, fingers snapping like tendons, until his pit shone bare and naked and fertile and ripe. Juice cascading from the sweet flesh like the tears of a freak who, feeling the needle carved through my septum, blood draining from nostrils down the riverous philtrum, as if guided by Moses or some sanguine lord, into my mouth, tasting of peaches. This is not about sex, but sometimes I wish it were. This is how you fuck the soul. This is annihilation. The peach never recalled being buried, only waking up to find the gardener smiling up at her with an expression suggesting awe at her new form. They kissed like animals in the orchard, her limbs coiling around the gardener, a gesture of gratitude. Or was it lust? Can't a kiss contain both? They decided both. Peach with a mustache. But she shaves it the very next day, hair disappearing like amoeba flooded by germicide. Oh, but her biceps. Those she'll keep. Winding, bulging serpents as well, the fuzz splattered across her tummy and dripping down over her crotch, her balls. She's all natural, baby. And with a mop of mullet slicked back, cascading down her neck, a waterfall or high dive, perfect form on a 400-pound squat. And you know she's keeping it forever. A final fuck you to the natural order. That fascism of biology slithering out of each iteration, perfected anew, reptilia in all her glory, butch bitch. Ashamed? I have never known a deeper truth, nor a firmer tautology than the shame in my reflection's eyes, that anger, sometimes hatred, reflected ad nauseum, ad infinitum between our pupils. What am I today, mirror? A slug? Simple enough. Or else a writhing, sucking, twitching morass, larval and stinking. There's the third self, The selfie Sylvia, the good lighting Sylvia, the ever so slight downward angled Sylvia, that wry smile Sylvia, like she knows that she's the one who gets to be immortal, immune to time, to calories, to me, my own unobtainable, flawless self, pixelated, skin deep. True, there are those flashes of godhood. Even then, truth, if such a thing is true, lurks in wrong angled reflections, in the tightness of my belt around my tummy, double chin, stretch marks, round jaw, my father's endless voice, fat fucking belly, fat fucking belly, fat fucking belly, fat fucking belly. This feels like something a child would write. You get the idea. This one's my favorite. Fuck you, Theseus. Why should I have to crawl away from myself, headlong into murky shedding, into dance and dust? Why can't this filthy white chair stitch herself to me, her threads interfacing with road-worn muscle? Why march at all, forward or back? Why no singular, infinite moment, everywhere, and all to myself? Fuck your ship, Theseus. Ever hear of Matryoshka dolls? I'm stacked deep, deep. Labyrinthian, Fibonacci, small intestine, hell, I don't even know my own corridors, but they're mine. They're here. Please, just tell me I'm all still here. Feels like I'm taking water, getting bailed, taking water, getting bailed. Not sinking, God no, never sinking. But I am drowning in novelty, and I just want to stay the same. Okay, last one. Robin, our little blue house, iglooed under mountains of winter, all dim red LED and cracked white paint, light like horizon summer, sweat like fear that this too shall pass. And don't you know I'll need this forever? It's the window and bed framing our entire space. It's the waft of our movement, hung like wisps of cigarette smoke in an airless room. It's our little momentous dance, slowing, snuggling, sliding down into a amygdala. Where would you ever be without me? Where would I ever be without you? Our telepathy. See me from your eyes, my real smile, candid and ugly, tiny little me in your pupils. I'm nesting, snug in our humors as we dissolve, but still there, still sweating. I come, and a springtime breeze comes rattling down the slopes. And then I have some socials. I have my Instagram. I don't really use it though. Email, phone number. The website for my poetry guild is here. You just type this in and you'll find it. It's the first one. It's NeoCities, and then my Discord. If you want to ask any questions or say hi. Thank you for listening. Sorry, I know it was probably a lot of poems.
Thank you, Sylvia. I'm glad we got to hear so many of your poems. Um, yes, those were fantastic. A lot of great feedback here. I wonder if you also would be willing to paste your, website and Discord in the chat so folks can find you that way. That would be really helpful. Um, yeah, and another comment, that was incredible. Thank you for sharing your creativity. Great. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm gonna give a few moments. Yeah, so real for dropping the Discord. For folks to add any other questions or comments for Sylvia specifically. While you're thinking, I'm gonna add quickly the links to find all of the issues of the zine. And also a link to our Trans Survivors blog, which is another place where you can find writing from Forge staff, but you can also find writing from really incredible contributors from our community who share their work, and a link to an evaluation for this session that helps us shape future offerings, trainings. So if you have a moment after, we would really appreciate hearing your thoughts. So I'm going to add that in the chat. Does anybody have any other questions or comments for Sylvia? Which zine is Sylvia in? Do you remember which issue yours is?
The very first one.
Okay, awesome. Issue 1. It's a lot to keep track of. Thank you.
And the poem that is in that zine is Peach with a Mustache, which was the second one that I read.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing those with us tonight. And we have about 9 minutes left, so I'm gonna open it up. If anybody who's been listening would like to share questions or comments for all of the speakers or any specific speaker, we have a little bit of time for that as well. Feel free to share questions or comments in the chat. And while folks are thinking, um, yeah, thank you for doing this as your first event like this, Sylvia. We're very glad to have you here. Um, as folks are thinking about other questions or comments you might want to add, I know there are a lot of um, other folks who are writers and artists here watching. So I'm curious if anybody has advice or guidance or anything like that that you would like to share for other artists or writers who might be listening for any of the speakers. Yeah, here, let me spotlight you.
Yeah, I just because I've spent so long trying to get to this point of the process. If you are also a novelist or someone who is trying to get your long form fiction published, I want to really encourage you to write from as personal a place as possible. Um, I wrote several books before the one that got signed with my agent, and that is the book that I got really, really angry actually once about another book announcement and said, "That's horrifically racist. I can do that concept except without making it racist and making it about disability in Ontario." So I wrote that from a very personal, very angry place, and that is the one that got people interested. So yeah, I would really encourage you, don't listen to the write what you know advice. Write what's personal.
I love that. Thank you. And I'm also going to spotlight Jayan here for a moment.
Yeah, I also just wanted to say that this is my piece I say to everybody because I am also like an arts facilitator. Um, your art is good because you made it. It doesn't have to be anything other than exist. I would argue that art even exists if it's just in your brain. But and I also, other than being an artist, other than my artistic pursuits, I'm an archaeologist by trade. So I also wanted to mention that art is one of the most innate human experiences and one of the most natural things that comes to us besides language and love and warmth. Um, and yeah, so there is so much dialogue around because we as in trans people are such a rarely showcased community. There is such dialogue around how, like, if you are making art about being a marginalized community, it has to be perfect because you're representing everybody. And if it's bad, then you're ruining it for everybody. And that's just propaganda to get us to stop making trans art. So, your art is good because you made it, and it just has to exist. And I don't think bad art is real. I think that is a lie told by big art to eradicate little art. So,
I love that. Thank you. I see a lot of nodding also from other folks. Here, Blue, let me spotlight you as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm largely going to echo what Art and Jan said, but I have found that the periods of my life where I have been most writer's blocked are the times when I have stopped writing for myself and have been writing for other people, either some imaginary mass audience that I want to impress, or the people on Twitter who are going to get mad at me if I do something wrong. And those are the times that my creativity just plummets because real creativity comes from assuming you are writing for just the handful of weird little freaks like yourself. And the stuff that has always meant the most to me is the stuff that is raw and from the heart and is stuff that I'm like, I don't know who they thought they were writing this for, but they were writing it for me. So make the shit that you want to make that you in another timeline wanted or needed. And I promise you there is someone in this timeline who needs it.
You. I love that. And I feel like we keep hearing so much tonight about how important it is to share those things that are so personal. We don't know who they might resonate with, but it sounds like a whole lot of the people here resonate with them. Um, I love that. Make art because something inside you is trying to get out, not because someone outside is trying to get in. The most important perspective on your art is yours. Thank you, Jayan, for that one. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to wrap us up just because we're very low on time, but I'm glad we had a moment for some other questions. If folks want to continue adding support or questions in the chat, I can pass those along to speakers afterward. I'm really grateful to all of you who shared your time with us and your work and your vulnerability um, to be a part of this space. I hope that folks here will go check out the zine so make sure you can read work from all of these wonderful folks and others who are here listening and supporting. Um, Thank you as well to our Spanish interpreters and also ASL interpreters who have done a fantastic job tonight and made this possible. I think that is all I have for you. I'm going to add the evaluation link again. So please share your thoughts with us about what we can do better next time, what you'd like to see in the future, because I know we'd love to offer more of this and get more voices out there. Thank you all for being here tonight.